Welcome back to First in Preparedness, where today we are continuing our gun lubrication test. If you did watch our last gun lubrication testing video, you saw that basically we oiled the BCG of an AR-15, put it back in the gun, and stored it upright. However, this time we are using 3 different oils. We are continuing to use the Lucas as our control to A, see if we get the same result, and B, compare it against these other 3 popular gun oils. Now, the gun oils that we're going to use today are, of course, the Lucas gun oil. Next, we are going to use break-free just LP this time, so it's supposed to be lubricating and protecting. Next, we're going to use Impro 7. And lastly, we're going to include Hops gun oil, which is, of course, very popular. But as I've seen from other testing sources or videos on YouTube, that the hops is not very good at necessarily protecting the gun. Not only that, it didn't do well in the abrasion test either. So now we're going to see if it actually stays in place. So with that, let's get started on our cleaning and degreasing of each of the BCGs and the uppers. Well, there they are, folks. They're all degreased and ready to go. Not that there was a lot of oil left on them. However, this time, since everybody was complaining about the AR pistol we had in the test and how it was going to be a nasty in the ATF size, well, now we're using all 16-inch guns. However, so a bolt carrier group is going to be different in one of those. Well, it's not going to be different. It's still going to be phosphate coated. However, we are using a different firearm with a different round count. With that, we also got new needle oilers. Of course, some of the lubricants that we're going to be applying do not come with needle oil applicators, so we are going to supply them so that we can keep a constant volume of oil on those rails. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and lube up the guns and store them for a month. The first oil we're going to apply is the Lucas, but we're not going to apply it to the Colt this time. We're going to apply it to our Coyote gun, which is a PSA build. But this one has probably the second most rounds on it, so let's see if it sticks there. Next, we are going to apply just this break-free LP to this Bushmaster. It probably has the highest round count. I've had this gun since, I don't know, 2011. Probably got 3,000 rounds through it. Next, we're going to apply this Impro 7 to this Colt. But one thing that was really, really weird, when I put it in the bottle, very milky and has a very grease-like smell. Now, I haven't used this much, And I haven't seen it in its like state, but it's like a weird milky color and has a strange smell. But we'll give it a go. So lastly, we're going to apply the Hoppy's gun oil to this LaRue Aero build. As you can see, the lubricant is extremely clear. So I've seen from corrosion testing this stuff doesn't do that good, but maybe it'll stay where you want it to. Well, here they're going to sit for a month and wait for me to come back. Here we are back at 1 month and 2 days. Sorry I missed that one extra day. Had some stuff I had to do, like paint a house. But nonetheless, here we are back again with our Lucas and Safariland LP and Hoppies and Impro 7 gun oil storage test. So let's take apart the rifles and see if any of the rails on the BCGs are still moistened with lubricant. So first up, we have what I call my Coyote gun, and that was lubricated with the Lucas gun oil. So here we go, folks. Here is the rail out of the Coyote gun. There's still oil on the lower part of the rail here and down here. There's oil on the rail up here. It's not on the, little bit on the gas key up there. Tiny little bit on that gas key, but there is still oil all along this edge here. And of course, this rail is also still wet with lubricant. So, the Lucas proved once again it does stay in place. Now let's move on to the LP. So let's look at the Safariland LP. So there actually is still lubricant along this lower rail. The top, there's a tiny, tiny little bit here. Otherwise, it's dry at the back. On this side, you can see there's some oil on the gas key. It didn't stay on the rail. There's a tiny, tiny little bit back here. And then there's a tiny little bit right there, but the front of the rail is dry. So, I don't know, medium result on that. I wouldn't say it's the best by any means, and it did creep into where the gas key is here and where the gas key is there. So, it's okay. Not that great. Definitely didn't stay where I wanted it to. It did creep a bit. Next up, we have the Impro 7 that was inside this Colt. So let's see if the Impro 7 held up. This was the one that smelled, I don't know, it almost had a gear oil or grease type smell to it. So let's see what it did. This looks promising. Let me step back here. So here is the Impro 7. Now it was a little bit thicker, and it looks like there's still quite a bit of oil on this rail here. There's a little bit up on this rail still, so that's not bad. This rail, a tiny little bit of oil just at the back of the upper rail here, but not much. Some of it did creep into the gas key, as you can see there. And this one has just a few traces of oil on this. I don't know. It's really good on this rail. Some left here, some left here, a tiny bit back here. I mean, Impro 7 isn't the worst that I've seen, but also I was expecting it's a higher viscosity lubricant, I was expecting it to stay a little bit more in place. No, but not bad. And lastly, we have the Hoppies number 9. This was a aero build that I had with the LaRue billet lower. But let's see how it did. So here is the Hoppies. Old number 9. Well, the good news is it's on this lower rail pretty consistently, pretty much as the Lucas is. This top rail didn't do so well though. It's pretty dry. And this rail actually has some lubricant on it still up here. And this lower has some lubricant on here. So actually the Hoppies didn't do that bad, except this one rail is pretty dry, but the other 3, they're pretty wet, especially this lower one here. I don't know what's going on there. Interesting. I mean, I know in the past people have done corrosion tests on the Hoppies and it does an absolutely terrible job, but as far as staying in place in the gun, it's not that bad. I mean, 3 out of the 4 rails are wet. I mean, I don't know if this is just an anomaly here where this one isn't wet. I mean, I don't see a lot on the gas key or anything like that. This side of this gas key is pretty wet. And this rail is wet as well. So I don't know. Pretty good stuff as far as staying in place. But lubricating properties aren't the best. And the protective properties aren't the best. So, but probably works as a gun oil. Well, folks, there it is. The gun oil storage test number 2 under our belts. And Lucas Oil is still holding on to that lead as far as being the most effective oil that stays in place where you put it and you store your weapon. With that, I would say the Impro 7 was second place as far as oils I would use. It still had some of the lubrication left over here and there. The Hoppies was mildly surprising. It stayed in place very well. But from other testing that I've seen, I probably would shy away from it just because of its actual lubricating properties and how it did in the abrasion tester. It did not fare very well, so it's actually lubrication is not that good, so I still wouldn't use it. Coming up short was a Safariland. Once again, don't know, I'm kind of underwhelmed with Safariland's actual lubricating or filming properties. With that, thank you for tuning in again. And in this next round, I did get some comments that had their, some oil suggestions they would like me to try. So that is what I'm going to do in this next round, is purchase some of those gun oils and we will put them to the storage test. With that, thanks for tuning in again. And I'm not even going to say it because everybody says it on every video and it drives me absolutely crazy. So I'm not going to drive you crazy. But if you like it, you like it. Have a great night, folks. See you soon.